In our header section, our menu links up at the top. If we click on the home, this links to our HTML versions of our index page. And also if we click on the blog, this also goes to our blog.html. This is not what we want, however, for a WordPress theme, since we want WordPress to control the pages and also the navigation. So let's kick things off by creating a new WordPress menu in the dashboard. So let's head over to the main dashboard and then go to Appearance and then Customize. From here, we can go over to the Customizer and add a new menu. As you guessed, we can do this in the Menus tab and then create a new menu. So this is our first look at what is called the Customizer. This allows us to visually make changes to certain parts of our theme, and we can also see a preview over on the right hand side of our changes. So we can play around with these settings and see how it looks in our theme before committing. We'll be using the Customizer to add this new menu to our theme, then add a menu name of main menu, click on next, add items to add our pages which we want to add to our menu. The first one is going to be for home, and then we don't have a blog page just yet, so we can add this just below. Click on add, and make sure we have the home and blog links on the left hand side. If we wanted to, we could also add custom links. We could also add links to various posts, any categories or tags associated with those posts too. But for now, these two pages are all we need to reflect our Bootstrap template. We can also add pages automatically to our menu as they are created by clicking this button here, but we just want the two for now. So click on Publish, close this down, and then we can go and refresh our page. So the menu is created, but we don't have it appearing in our theme just yet. These are still the links from our HTML. Just before we do this, we're going to go over to the WordPress codex, which is available at developer.wordpress.org. So head over to this page. Then we can do a search for WP nav menu, separated by underscores. So WP nav menu, search for this. Then we can go over to the function reference. We see at the top, WP nav menu is used to display a navigation menu, and this is exactly what we need. Below this, we have some parameters which we can add into our menu. These parameters will allow us to customize the menu by adding things such as containers, along with various custom classes and IDs. Using all these parameters will allow us to tell WordPress exactly which classes we want to add to our menu to keep our styling and layout exactly how it is using Bootstrap. I'm going to do this by using what is called a Bootstrap nav walker. Let's go over to the tab and then search for the Bootstrap for nav walker, which will take us to the GitHub page. This nav walker will allow us to link all the Bootstrap classes and IDs and the basic structure to our WordPress menu, so we don't have any differences in the styling. The first thing we need to do is to download these. File has already been included in the past before requiring it once more. With this now registered, let's go back over to the documentation. And the next step is to use a WordPress function called register nav menus. So we can copy this function just here. And this also needs to go over to our functions file. And I'm going to add this just on the line below. Paste this in. There is also a function to create a single menu called register nav menu rather than menus. But we'll also be adding a footer menu at a later date, so we can stick with menus. This contains an array of menus, even though we just have the one at the moment. Here we add in our menu as primary, and we'll take a look at this in just a moment. After this, we have a menu description. I'm going to call my description the main header menu. After this, we have the theme name. Ours is Tranquil WP. And this name must match the comments at the top of the style.css. It must match this text domain, which we declared earlier. Back in the functions, this text domain will also be used later on too, when we look at translating our text in the theme. Now let's go back over to the documentation and continue with this menu. If we scroll down to the usage, the next piece of code is WP nav menu. And this is what we looked at in the WordPress codex just before. This will be using WP nav menu to register our menu, which we can then go ahead and map our WordPress classes with the Bootstrap equivalents. So let's copy this function just here over to our header, which is where our menu is stored. And we need to navigate to the unordered list. We can either delete this or comment this section out, since we're not using this hard-coded version anymore. In place of this, we're going to add some PHP tags, since we're now jumping into PHP code, and then paste in our menu. Notice the list of parameters on the left-hand side of this array. These are the parameters we've seen before when we looked at WP nav menu inside the WordPress website, and these are all the ones just on here. We then have the option over on the right-hand side to map any of these to our Bootstrap equivalents, so the Bootstrap classes will take effect rather than the WordPress defaults. If we begin by saving this, and then reloading our home page, we'll see our menu has now disappeared since we commented it out. We can go over to add a menu. We're then taken to our main menu, which we created before. We now need to set this main menu to our theme location of main header menu. So select this, save our changes, and notice under the appearance we now have a menus menu. We can go back to our site by clicking this link just here, and we can see now we have our home and our blog links from our menu. This is now over on the left hand side, but this is something which we can easily fix now. Back over to the menu in our header.php file, surrounding our menu, and in fact I'm just going to remove this unordered list. We still have this surrounding div with the Bootstrap classes. We're going to remove this in just a moment, but for now we can use this as a reference since we're basically replacing this with the parameters below. The theme location is set to primary. This is fine since this links up with the name in our functions of primary just here. Next up we have the depth of the menu. We're going to set this to be a value of 1 since this menu is not a drop down. Our container also has the class of justify content end. So I'm going to copy this and add this at the end of the container class. This will move our menu back over to the right hand side. The ID of navbar nav, we can take this and add this as the container ID. We can also remove the margin right value of auto since we don't use this in our theme. This is our container now replicated, and down at the bottom we're creating a new navwalker instance to use in our theme. All that's left to now do is to remove the surrounding div, the opening, and also the closing tags. Over to the browser, and then we can reload. Okay, good. Our menu is now pushed over to the right. If we go to the developer tools by right click and inspect, click on the inspector and go to the menu. We need to find the div with the ID of navbar nav, which now contains all of our divs and classes which were reset in the navwalker. And then nested inside we have our unordered list and then our list items. If we now close this down, we can click on the links and WordPress now has full control over where we're taken to. We no longer see any of the HTML links at the top, so our menu is now working as expected. And this is how we can add a custom menu to our theme. And next we'll get to work on fixing our images.